Notice on any votes regarding the pipeline, keeping a robust repository on pipeline for the public, and insisting meetings with both of the pipeline companies, public meetings with both of the pipeline companies, even to the point of requesting that meetings be recorded and posted in some internet forum such as YouTube.
And again, I'm speaking independently. I have some awareness of my colleagues' feelings on these things, and just as normal, I think there are varying degrees of what we think we should do, but I think generally our immediate response was that their recommendations, none of them were unreasonable. When it comes to the recording and streaming of the meeting, that's actually something that Commissioner Phillips and I have been interested in doing in an unedited version. As Mr. Phillips indicated, we've been uncomfortable since day one, but Commissioner Phillips made some efforts to try to get some help from Career and Technology Center or the college to get that done, and funding and the time for the folks in MIS that handle our website is the real problem in making that happen. But I wouldn't have a bit of a problem with that, and that's something that not only is beneficial to the folks that are opposing the pipeline efforts, but to everyone in the county that wants to know what's going on in our meetings and for whatever reason are not able to attend them. So, that's something that I think we would really like to make happen. The other items are again are reasonable, but as I said at the beginning of the meeting today, Gordy, these things just don't happen overnight. There's extra burden on personnel, extra burden on our county administrator. We're already short-staffed in MIS. We all know that we never have money sitting around in a corner somewhere, and these things all cost money. The first thing I want to do, and I haven't had a chance to do it, is to take a look at Chester County's effort and what they've done, and try to talk to some of the folks in Chester County to see how they managed it, how they funded it, and those kinds of things. But the other two commissioners follow up with whatever they think.
I had, as you may recall, maybe not, prior to this board, so they were not able to vote on this, but had recruited a young man who actually was live streaming the Jonestown Borough meetings, and he was going to set us up for $100 to be able to use that service. And of course, he's probably getting big bucks to do that now. But anyhow, that was turned down at that time. And so I came up with this as, continuing to at least try and present some of the information to the public and being transparent. And I can't reiterate enough that a lot of commitment, time, and expense on my own part, because first of all, I've got to edit it to get it down to a minimum size, and for every minute, if my internet is working well, it takes 15 minutes to upload. So a 5-minute video can take me an hour and a quarter, sometimes an hour and a half. It depends how slow or fast the internet's going. And yesterday it was also questioned whether or not we could use Marcellus shale funds that come to the county to help support an endeavor of this nature. So I don't know if it's possible or not, but it's something we can look at. I agree, and I actually talked to staff about doing this in the past, about having a web page and everything. It hasn't happened yet. Perhaps we'll move that direction now. In the interim, again, I always find a way to get things done. It might not be ideal, but on our Swatara Watershed Facebook page, I have maps and the things that they were requesting, not all the documents, but I do my best to, I've done videotapes of meetings. I have actually a Marcellus Shale library on YouTube where people can go in and hear Tom Harlan talking about things you should do if you're negotiating with these big companies, that you shouldn't sign the first time it comes through, and you should negotiate, because once it's done, it's a contract and it's over. So I mean, I have local experts talking about things, and it's like training videos, really, that people can access 24/7. So those things are available, and I'd like to see those kinds of things happen on the county site, because obviously it would have more credence. I mean, our watershed does great work, but the county is an official body, so anything we can do to move towards that, I certainly support. Didn't hear anything that I could not support. I think that giving people the information they're requesting is certainly a big step in gaining their confidence and their trust. And so I think that's something that as commissioners we should be stepping up and taking that leadership role.
Is giving 45 to 60 days advance notice on a vote practical?
No, and we discussed that yesterday. It's not practical. Jamie gets us information at the last minute many times and gives it to us as soon as he gets it. But it was suggested that that last decision in May could have been maybe discussed but not voted on that time, and then brought up at least at the following meeting to give people some time to comment. And I heard, I don't want to speak, they can say for themselves, but I heard agreement that that might be something they could consider.
All of those things were reasonable, except the one which asked for us to have inspectors, citizen inspectors and photographers. I don't think that's anything that we can do under our purview, but I guess the other ones were reasonable. If there are costs associated with them, we'd have to measure how far we can go with website development, things like that. We can only encourage meetings. We can't dictate to them that we are going to have a meeting, but we're willing to reach out to the Sunoco and Atlantic folks again to try. But again, those are things, they were all reasonable, but how far and what fruit they will bear, budget and reaction to what we're asking. So.
And on the citizen inspectors, I do recall with the Pine Grove landfill, that was a great big issue many years ago in the 80s when our watershed association was activating. And at that point, again, to gain public confidence and trust, citizen inspectors were encouraged and approved. So it's not, I mean, it wouldn't be like blazing a new trail. There are models out there where it could be done. Well, the company certainly allowed it to happen and said, yes, we want to be open and transparent, and they allowed it to happen. And I think that, we'd have to be in negotiations, but again, taking that leadership role, if this is something the public and the municipalities would like to see to enhance public safety, I don't see a problem with at least trying to negotiate that.
I missed one thing that I thought was a real shame, where we had a commitment from, I don't know, was it Atlantic or Sunoco, to be at a chamber meeting, and Lancaster's doing the same thing, but ours was canceled, and it was fortunate that our director or president of our chamber was here to quantify the number of attendees. 8.
They canceled because they only had 8 people registered,
that would
but
have
yet
been a
we have
perfect opportunity.
people crying for a public meeting, and here was an opportunity. Here was the response. Now, like this really bothered me. The reason that they didn't think that was an acceptable possibility was because if you happen not to be a chamber member, there was a $25 admittance fee. Now, if you're genuinely interested and you feel that this pipeline issue is, valid and of significant importance to the county, and you're actively opposing it, you're not willing to spring for $25 to attend a workshop.
Or get some money together for one, get your best person, get Mike to go.
That is just so weak. I can't believe it.
I think that just like when we go to vote, there are certain things that we should not have to pay for, and I think that they had a valid point.
Their response was that they shouldn't have to pay to get information, but sometimes there's a price to pay for things, and I don't see the relevancy to the right to vote at all.